Why has chalchalt I pis naxil is quisten kiloch chin can tell milmil tish and introduce myself. I'm Chief Chad Enos of the Penticton Indian Band, and we're here at ECOmmunity Place, or otherwise known as Quilstinchens Timhulau.
My name is Michael Besner. I'm currently the ECOmmunity Manager at the Okanagan Center. I'm a conservation ecologist. The ECOmmunity Place locatee lands is currently comprised of a series of parcels here on the Penticton Indian Reserve. They're parcels that are privately held in a locatee or certificate of possession status. And so the Okanagan Center's ECOmmunity Department has been working for the past 20 years with locatee landowners to come to agreement to either lease their parcels or in some cases be able to purchase some of these parcels so that we can protect them in perpetuity for their biodiversity values, ecosystem values, but also for cultural use.
So in our chaptikl, it gives us our ways to live here, and there's a couple of our stories that really highlight the significance of our interdependent relationship with all living things. One of the stories that stand out is how names were given. And in that story, one of the principles is about everything that is timich or living, and that everything has a purpose and it has a role and a function. And if we think about that from a traditional ecological perspective, a Syilx perspective, that it's kind of like when you put a puzzle together.
My name is Tracy Kimbono, and I'm the Manager of Arts, Culture, and Adult Higher Learning here at the Okanagan Center. One of the ways that we put the pieces back together in terms of the recovery of our language, the recovery of our culture, the recovery of our tamich, you know, all of the living things that provide sustenance for us. My role at ECOmmunity Place is to work with the schools, to work with our nation, to work with the knowledge keepers, to work with the scientists, to really help form those relationships and those interdependent ideas that come together to provide solutions for what we're trying to do at ECOmmunity Place in terms of restoring this beautiful, beautiful tract of land.
My name is Lachlach, which is a water name, and I'm Jeanette Armstrong. I'm from the Penticton Indian Band. My father was really concerned about the passing on of our knowledge and our history, and in particular our connection and relationship to all of the tamich, to all of the living things that we're part of and that, you know, gave us life over these thousands of years. Penticton, this place that we're at, this whole area, right from where the Okanagan Center is all the way up to the lands that are being restored through the ECOmmunity Place, this was all a village area of Penticton. Our local hereditary chief, Chief Adam Enos, tells us that our people here was a place where many people gathered and came to, because this is the center of the Okanagan.
We're right next to the city of Penticton in one of Canada's critical habitats, the Black Cottonwood riparian area. The partnership that we formed with relation to recovery of our identity, our language, some of our stories and our practices, and how we share that with broader society.
The partnerships that have been developed through the innovative model of ECOmmunity Place, in particular with the Penticton Indian Band and the Okanagan Nation Alliance, with more specifically with Kimchinit. And that project really is about the restoration of our Chinook salmon. And that Chinook salmon is one of our salmon chiefs. And that's really vital. And if you think about that model in terms of the revitalization of our culture and the learning that is taking place, the learning really is about how people, individuals and organizations can learn to partner, can learn to work together in terms of all of the ways that we can see one thing at the end. And for this, it would be sustainability. For this, it would be a better place and a better world for our future generations, not just for Syilx people, but for everyone around the planet.
These Lokotee lands represent some rare and endangered habitats here in the South Okanagan Valley, specifically the black cottonwood or mulch forests that surround us. About 96% of those forests have been destroyed or severely degraded here in the South Okanagan Valley. These habitats are specifically important for a wide range of biodiversity. There are hundreds of species that rely on this specific habitat. We also protect these Lokotee lands because they're the last home of a number of species at risk. So these are species that are listed as endangered, threatened, or special concern nationally, or they're listed as red listed or blue listed provincially.
So we know that, for instance, a huge amount of animals that use this area are no longer here. And this small area that we're talking about protecting and preserving is not just an area that we care about because of lately the concerns about SAR, species at risk. It really is, for us as Syilx people, important to our health, emotionally and spiritually, to our wellness physically, that we have those things there. They're so essential, not only to our well-being in our mind, but so essential to our well-being in our spirit.
The importance of the outdoor classroom, ECOmmunity Place, is a place where we bring children from the schools, from the band schools. We introduce them to plants, and we share with them the experience that plants are our relatives and feed everything from the butterflies to the amphibians, to the fish, to the birds, all living things. And the other idea around that outdoor classroom is to bring our knowledge keepers, our elders, our speakers, and our community members. And when you think about that in terms of how we're teaching each other to learn from our plants, from our relatives, and from each other, so that we can create a model of sustainability.
We've been working in collaboration with Environment and Climate Change Canada and the Canadian Wildlife Service, as well as a number of university researchers from Simon Fraser University and the University of British Columbia, Okanagan, to study our local breeding population of the migratory yellow-breasted chat. There are only about 250 pairs, breeding pairs of yellow-breasted chats in all of southern British Columbia. Most of those yellow-breasted chats live in Syilx traditional territory.
But this was the most rich and bountiful area that sustained our people historically. And I think that's really an important thing to understand, that the history here is that our people maintained that. They didn't destroy it. And the Penticton Band itself has really been, I think, people to be proud of. And our people maintain that. We have not developed extensively and destroyed extensively the living things that are here.
The ECOmmunity project is going to need much more work in terms of who comes forward and how we continue on this work of sustainability. And it's going to need the work from universities, it's going to need the work from researchers, it's going to need the donations from philanthropists, from organizations, from conservation partners, from volunteers, from our own people. And that is what interdependence is.
You know, it is one of the critical habitats in Canada, so it's one of the last cottonwood stands within the Okanagan Valley, you know, in the valley floor. So it's a really special place, and if there's any way that you think you can help, we would definitely appreciate it. White limlim quillen chuden, talikin limpt, chak tiku hasp iut. So what I said was giving thanks to the Creator for putting us here on this place, and that from now on and in the future, that we can all have good in our lives, in our living.